Should broke people travel? And listen, I'm not even trying to be funny. So basically, I don't know if you all have heard about the country of Brazil is starting this thing where basically people from other countries, including America, aren't able to come into the country if they don't have $2,000 in either their checking or their savings accounts. Now, a lot of people are upset, talking about, how dare they do that? That's not fair. That's not right. That if people can afford the ticket and afford the amenities of going to Brazil, then it shouldn't matter about how much money they have in their check-ins or their savings. So let's kind of think about this and look into this. So, I'm not about to get on here and spray nobody's tea, but I will spray my own tea because, I like to travel and stuff like that. And that's always something that comes up when wanting to travel, of how much money should I bring? How much money should I have saved? Things like that. Because let's be real, anything can happen when you travel abroad or even when you travel in general. So should you have a certain amount to travel? And I say yes. Heck yes. Okay, so I'm just going to give y'all a little quick story. So back when I was in school, there was a friend of mine who was wanting to go out of the country. So let's just say she wanted to go to Timbuktu. Not really Timbuktu, but I'm just using Timbuktu for an example. And so I basically was letting her know, like, no, I can't go on the trip. My coins are not right because, I was doing clinicals. And at that time, I was only working PRN. So I just had money for when I had to pay my bills or whatever the else case may be. I didn't have money to go out of the country. But it was all just like, oh, come on a trip, girl. I got you. You can just pay me back. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Why did I do that? Because as soon as we get on the trip, we had like a suite. So there was one bed there was one king bed in the room, and then there was a living room that had a pull-out couch, pull-out bed attached to the couch, and then they had like this small like twin bed. So basically, the friend decides to tell me, oh, well, I get the bed and y'all can have the beds in the front. Ma'am, I'm 5'9". Who's about to sleep in that twin bed or that mattress? And so I'm just like, well, wait a minute, hold on. Like, how are you going to try to do that when we're all splitting this 3 ways? So we should, either 2 people can sleep in that bed, or one person sleep in this bed one night and one person, kind of like coordinate, because to make it fair. So she's all just like, well, I don't know if I'm ever going to get my money back or when you're going to pay me back. And I'm the one who coordinated the trip and planned the trip. So I feel like, I should have the bed. By the end of that conversation, we had concluded that we were both going to be sharing the bed because there's enough space. And that's what it was. But at the end of the day, although that was wrong because we're supposed to be friends, you can't really blame somebody, because when you do have that friend that goes on the trip who runs out of money or who don't have a lot of money, then you basically place yourself in that setting of being, oh goodness, this broke friend, we gotta help take care of, this one we gotta pay this thing for, this one we gotta do this, and you almost feel like a charity case. So that's why I say you definitely don't need to go out of the country without having at least a good $2,000 in your bank account, because anything can happen. Say for instance, you can get stuck at the airport. You might have to buy a ticket right then and there. For example, went out of the country with a family friend, and what ended up happening, her ticket was for the right day, but the thing was the AM and the PM got confused, so she was 12 hours late for her flight. What happened? You had to basically pay for a ticket. If that ticket could not have been paid for at that time, she could have been stranded in that African country doesn't know the language, doesn't know the customs, the culture, been by herself, if somebody couldn't have wired her that money just like that, or if we couldn't have put in, or if she didn't have that money available to her, then what happens? And there are a lot of cases when people end up getting stuck out of the country, out of town, and can't pay their way. So it makes a lot of sense that you need to have this extra money on you. You need to have something in the event that anything happens. And let's not talk about how these people are going to jail overseas in Dubai. They just locking them up by the bunches, and they need that money to get out of jail. They need bail money. Anything can happen. I had a trip in state with me and a friend. Were going somewhere that was just not in state, but in the continental US. And we were planning this trip for like 9 whole months. And when it comes literally 2 or 3 days before the trip, oh, well, I had to pay this, I had to pay that. So, I won't have the money. Mind you, that she had like her trip money. Her trip was already paid for. I believe the room was already paid for, but and even activities, but it was just the money to actually have to spend while you're there. She didn't have it. So me, being a good friend, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to make sure, I take care of you. I got you, whatever you need to borrow, anything, you just pay me back when you got it. And she ended up paying me back when she got it. But at the same time, what if that would have happened and it would have been some of them people where it's just like, oh, like they become a burden, or they rolling their eyes, or they got something to say, or ooh, they broke, or this, that, and the other, then it becomes a problem. That's why at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with these countries putting these parameters on, talking about, okay, you need to have money, because you need to have money. When you go out of town, when you go out of the country, you don't need to not have no money in the bank. You don't need to be asking friends for money. You don't need to be asking friends, oh, I'm gonna loan you this money back or whatever. I'm gonna pay you when I get it back. I know I've done that before, and that was based off of somebody, to me, peer pressure me, but I still should have been like, no, I can't do that, because what happens? I run into I paid for the trip, so such and such and such, that type of thing. So that's why I say, if you ain't got no money, stay home. They'll have people that'll sit up here and run on these trips and wanna flick it up for the Instagram and for the Facebook and social media. And then when they get home, they need to borrow money to pay rent. They need to borrow money to pay bills. They need to borrow money to pay for their school fees. That's not cute. So make sure y'all have y'all coins together. If you ain't got the money, go to Applebee's, go up the street, go on a road trip. Just make sure you have a couple of coins on the side, because anything can happen.